And we've heard from Nigel Farage this morning on Twitter, who's calling on the UK to allow America to use British air bases. Some of you are pretty dismissive of Nigel Farage's reaction this morning. Alfred said, how many refugees will Farage allow into the UK in that case? He asked via text. Of course, many of the conflicts around the world do also spark major refugee crises, some of which end up affecting us here in the UK. I want to get the reaction now from another party in the UK, though. Rachel Millward is Deputy Leader of the Green Party of England and Wales. Morning to you, Rachel.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me. We were going to talk about Gorton and Denton this morning, and I'm sure we'll manage a question on that too. But we've got to talk about Iran. Such a huge story this morning. What is the Green Party's response to these overnight strikes?
Oh, we're just desperately concerned. It's clearly an incredibly volatile situation, and we really look to Starmer to be strong here and to maintain and call out our allies who are not following international law. We all depend on international law for our security and for peace, and these actions are showing complete disregard for it, which is incredibly important. So though, what's going on in the Iranian regime, we've spoken out against that very strongly, and we know there's been horrendous, actually, loss of life and oppression in that regime. But large-scale bombing is more loss of life and is more chaos and more suffering. The likelihood of this approach ending in the solution that people want is incredibly if just impossible. And so we really need our Prime Minister to be strong here. We need to make sure that UK military bases are not used. We need to make sure that he uses all levers available to uphold international law and to hold our allies to account in that.
OK, so clear difference here, as we would expect, between you and Reform UK, for example. You're saying absolutely do not use UK bases or allow America to use UK bases. Reform UK is saying America should be able to. Doesn't this call into question, though, some of your policies around defence? Because ultimately, the Green Party is quite a pacifist party. You want to see a more peaceful world, and part of that is about reducing military capabilities, for example, dismantling our nuclear weapons. That is pie in the sky, isn't it, given the world that we wake up to this morning? We're living in an incredibly unstable world. We can't risk not having serious defensive capabilities.
Well, I think something people often don't understand about our nuclear capability is that it's dependent on the US. And as the US continues to behave like a rogue state, that feels less and less secure. So I think we need to think big picture and first principles. Our goal here is to have peace and security across the world, but certainly in this nation. And we can no longer take that for granted in a way which many of us have through our lives. And so we need to be assessing very clearly the risk to our security. That includes cybersecurity, includes climate change. And we need to have a very sort of first principles, pragmatic, thorough overview and come up with a strategy that works for now.
But
because it's shifting, changing in this incredibly dangerous way all the time.
It is shifting and changing. I take your point on that. But how can we be advocating for the dismantling of the UK's nuclear weapons facilities whilst under your policy leaving Iran to crack on and continue building its nuclear capabilities? That's essentially what you would be advocating for by saying we shouldn't be intervening in Iran. You're saying, obviously we'd like some diplomacy, etc. I'm sure you'll say, but at the end of the day, you would allow Iran to continue building its nuclear capabilities whilst advocating that Britain should be dismantling ours. That's going to sound pretty risky to a lot of people.
I don't agree with the way that you've put that at all, or what you said. The idea that you're almost suggesting we kind of say to everybody, yeah, crack on, yeah, do horrendous things that we disagree with. The only way to intervene if we disagree with something is to bomb you. What I'm saying here is that intervening through bombing doesn't help bring peace to that region. We have seen in the Middle East time and time again, America coming in, being the hero, supposedly, and the result of it is not healthy democratic society. If that's the goal that we've got here, let's think clearly about the steps it would take to get there. It's incredibly difficult and complicated, but whilst it might seem heroic, going in and bombing a place doesn't solve those problems.
Okay, let's talk about the election for a minute as well, because presumably, if the Middle East there was a big issue in that campaign, it's been a big issue in the 2024 election as well, where Gaza came up time and time again. I mean, if we've got more conflict in the Middle East now as a result of these strikes overnight, presumably that is going to be another issue that you're going to want to talk about in campaigns to come. Do you think this is another point of difference potentially between the Green Party and the Labour Party?
Well, as I said at the beginning, I think what we need is for Starmer to show much more strength. And I think what the Gorton and Denton by-election has shown is that people are utterly disillusioned with Labour. I mean, we know how unpopular Starmer is on domestic policies, but the line from Labour was always, during the election has been, well, he's incredibly good at international policies, and so we just need to see that now. But certainly what Gorton and Denton has shown is just that people are hungry for change, that they want a party that is against inequality, that will change the standard of living for people. They want, we need hope desperately. And that does include making sure that we're not aiding and abetting a genocide in Gaza. Like these things matter to people on the ground. It's a combination, I think, of both bigger picture global issues and absolutely the issues of your everyday quality of life, bills being far too high. And we need to tax the wealthy and change the way things are. What
is the seat target now for the Green Party? How many do you think you might win in the general election?
Well, it's amazing because Gorton and Denton was our 127th target based on the kind of swing it would have taken to win it. So there's clearly 126 that are more winnable than that. We will be, we're growing at an incredible rate. As you know, we've sort of more than tripled in our membership and we're clearly soaring in the polls. And Gorton and Denton was a time when we proved that all this new momentum, this green surge is actually, it's in the ballot box as well. We've kind of brought it to reality with our incredible new MP, Hannah Spencer.
So in your dreams, what are you thinking? Dozens, hundreds of seats? Give me a rough idea of where you think you'll be.
In the kind of the political strategy we have at the moment, we've sort of been talking about 30. We're now way beyond that because that was at a time when we were much smaller. We're growing fast. As I say, this was the 127th target. We haven't got a precise number, but it's very, very clear that what Zach said right at the beginning is true, that we're not here just to hold Labour to account. We're here to replace them, and we're moving at pace. We're now the party of hope. We're now the party that people want to represent them. And the brilliance of Hannah Spencer is sort of showing that to everyone.